Welcome, ladies and gents, to Synergy Learning's monthly updates taking place in May 2020. We've got a couple of exciting topics, and clearly one of the first things that are coming up is our new changes, while there are still proposed changes to living annuities. At the moment, living annuities, which was actually promulgated in 2009, has a minimum withdrawal of 2.5% with a maximum of 17.5%. So just a little explanation on living annuities for those who do not know. What happens at the moment is if I am a member of a pension fund, a retirement annuity, as well as a pension preservation fund, the Income Tax Act obligates us to invest 2/3 of that into some form of annuity. Now, we have two types of annuities. We have what we call a living annuity. Some of us call it a linked annuity. And then, of course, we have what we call guaranteed annuities. But with guaranteed annuities, it's actually fixed. Once I've invested the money with the insurer, then the insurer will invest that money on my behalf. I have no say in terms of how it's invested or not. And then they provide us a fixed income. Of course, we can decide how that income should be linked. So it can be inflation linked, it can be with an escalation over the years, it can be a level annuity, etc. But the money that goes into this fund is definitely belongs to the insurer. There is no such thing as I want to increase my annuity income on a regular basis or every year, etc., that we cannot touch. With the living annuity, even though, and we're going to look at when we talk about the accrual on divorce, even though we're the ones who actually invest that capital from the pension fund, we have very little say in terms of the capital itself, in that it doesn't belong to us, but we have lots of say in terms of the income that comes out. But of course, we do have decision in terms of the underlying funds. But for this purpose, we're actually only looking at the drawdown, our income that we actually want to withdraw. Now, this income is stated right at the beginning, a date of commencement of the policy. You have to decide the range that you want to, or maybe let me say the percentage that you want to withdraw within that range. And that withdrawal is obviously a annual withdrawal on the capital that has been invested. But remember now, this capital will go up and it can come down depending on the actual economy. And this is what has happened in the last couple of months, I suppose, from a South African perspective. And we've got a beautiful little virus called COVID-19, and has created total and utter havoc in many people's lives. And you are going to find that there are two types of annuitants. I'm going to stick to two types of annuitants, because you can have various types, but basically you're looking at the annuitant who has income, the income stream from somewhere else. Maybe they are contracted, maybe they're still re-employed, maybe they've started some form of sole trading, whatever. There is some form of income that's coming through, which means that they are trying to withdraw the minimum allowed so that they don't eat into the capital. And then you have, on the other side, you have annuitants who really, truly rely on the living annuities. This is the only income that they are receiving. And of course, what they do is they're drawing the most. Is this such a great idea in terms of capital preservation? We do not know, but when we're needing to survive today, we tend to not always consider what is going to happen in the years going by. Here's the problem, is the capital amount here. Lot of money has been lost, depending clearly on what type of an underlying investments you have. It could have been high risk type of investments, could have been very conservative type of investments. I don't know which investment at the moment is actually going to be ideal, because high risk equities, you know what happened to that. If I'm going more into the conservative side of the investments, you're looking at bonds, interest rate is gone down. Well, maybe the bonds is not such a bad thing to buy before the interest rate comes down totally. But the thing is, the majority of us have had negative returns in our living annuities. So we got a choice to make. Rather, there is this proposal. It hasn't been promulgated. We're waiting to find out, is it really going to happen? Is it not going to happen? Some of us are excited about this possible change. Others are going, not such a good thing. So I'm here to let you know what the possible changes are, if it's not already too late. Because of the fact that we've had negative growth, well, negative, there's no such thing as a negative growth, but we've had negative yields. Is there a proper word to say that? We've just lost our money. Let's put it that way. It's probably so much easier. For those who are only drawing 2.5%, the thought pattern is that these people are generally not the ones who actually need the income. So to force them to still draw 2.5% on capital that is actually just eroding might not make sense. So the suggestion is that we bring it down to an amount of 0.5% so that we are drawing as little as possible from this fund to hopefully preserve some capital in the capital portion of the actual annuity, which makes sense. So the question is, why 0.5%? Why not just nothing? Why force me to take anything? Well, that lies within the definition of living annuities in the Income Tax Act, where it actually says the purpose of a living annuity is to generate annuity. So we can't deviate from that definition. I suppose it's probably easier just to quickly change a percentage. But this is something that I think that going forward has to be seriously considered, because yes, I do know at this stage that the Income Tax Act has allowed for a deferral of retirement. So you can select when you arrive retirement age. So at retirement age of the fund, you are allowed to then defer the retirement and put it into a retirement annuity or a preservation fund, and you then elect a retirement date. Now, this is fine, this is not a problem, but all I'm doing is deferring. So at this point, it's not going to help me if I need that money. It's not going to help me deferring it, not at all. I need the 1/3. That's what most people want, is they want the 1/3. It's just unfortunate that the 2/3 also has to be invested. I want the 1/3. So by deferring it is not going to mean anything to me. The problem also is that should I need access to the 1/3, the Income Tax Act doesn't allow you to draw the 1/3 and then preserve the rest or defer the rest for a elected retirement date. So it is 100% of your funds or nothing at all, where potentially then the idea is to preserve only my 2/3 because I need my 1/3. I mean, I think a lot of people at the moment were who perhaps had not retired from their retirement funds, obviously after the age of 55, because they didn't feel the need to. And now they're in a situation where I need some cash, and my retirement annuity has that cash. We don't want them to touch it, but it has 1/3. And if we in the middle of this whole pandemic, I'm going to want cash wherever I can find it. But now to take my 1/3 means that I am now obligated to my 2/3 into an annuity. Just doesn't seem, it just makes no logic. So I think going forward, what we should be doing is allowing someone to actually defer their 2/3 into a elected retirement annuity, retirement date. If I need cash now, allow me to take my 1/3 because I need the cash now, and then ideally defer to 2/3. But that is not the change. But for those of you who know me, I always speak a lot. So that, I think, is an idea. But these people clearly did not need the income, so they have the opportunity of bringing the drawdown to 0.5% of that capital amount, which is really going to amount to very, very little money because we've lost so much value in our annuity. And then for those who desperately do need income, because this is all they have, they're now allowed to draw 20%. It's going to change, 20%. Here is the concern. Here's the concern. If I'm drawing 20% and I've had basically no growth. As a matter of fact, my capital has eroded, and now I'm going to be taking 20%, then you must understand the chances are this is really just going to disappear. I think the good thing is that the proposal is really only between May and August. So now you can see we're nearly at the end of May. It hasn't been promulgated at all. So if they do, we're probably going to start from the 1st of June to the end of September. That's if they still allow 4 months. So it's only for 4 months to carry over these months. It's a long-term impact, what this pandemic has done, long-term impact. I don't know if this change for 4 months is going to make much of a difference, because you must remember, if this capital has had a massive impact in terms of loss, 20% of that is also not going to be much. So I might want that 20% for longer. But then at the same time, these annuities, all these legislation around income tax and living annuities, it's really to ensure that when they do retire eventually, that they do not have to rely on the state for a pension. I don't know. I'm going to leave it at that. I'm trying so hard in the last couple of weeks not to really give all my thought patterns about what's happening around us, because that's clearly only my thought patterns, but there we are. Normally, when I do elect the percentage that I want to draw down on my annuity, I have to do it once a year. I do it once a year, and obviously only at the date of commencement of the policy. So if the date of commencement of my policy, say for instance 1st of May, I have an opportunity at that point to say what my drawdown must be. I cannot do anything throughout the year. I've got to wait for the 1st of May of the following year to then decide what my drawdown is going to be there. What they are allowing here is they're allowing you to amend it immediately. So we are now in the 16th, 17th, I don't even know anymore. We are now in the middle of May. So you can change it now. So even if your anniversary, for instance, is 1st of January 2021, it does not matter. You can change to these drawdowns immediately. Remember, still promulgated. Not, this is, my apologies, not promulgated, still a draft. At the end of this term, it's going to automatically revert back to the original selection that you had. However, if your date of commencement, either anniversary date of this policy, is between May to end of August, then whatever you've selected now will continue until the next anniversary of the policy. Then it will revert back to your normal 2.5 and 17.5%. So it's really a little bit of a gap that they've provided in these 4 months. Good, not good? I am not too sure. The other limitation, I suppose, if I can call it that, is the fact that we do have a de minimis, and that has been, let me see where I've put it for you. I know I put it here somewhere for you. There it is. And the current is, if I've had any previous withdrawals prior to the 2/3 being actually invested, then I've got 50,000. That the minute the capital in my annuity is 50,000 or below, then I can cash the whole lot in. And if it's 75,000 where there were no previous withdrawals below that, then I can totally cash it in. Because of course, it's not feasible to keep that annuity going at that rate, considering costs, etc. That is going to change, and the de minimis amount is now 125,000, irrespective of whether there has been any previous withdrawals or not, and that is going to stay there permanently until, I suppose, one of these days it gets changed. Quite rightly, the 50 and 75,000 has been there since I can recall. I think I've been in this profession for how long? 20-something years. It's just been 50 and 75 for such a long time. So it has now changed. It will be amended to have 125,000, and that will be a permanent change. So ladies and gents, I'm going to reiterate the fact that this is only a draft. It has not been promulgated. We're waiting to establish whether it is going to go through or not. If they are still going to stick to the 4 months, if maybe not extend it, if it's going to come in at all. If it's going to come in at all, it will be very interesting if there are any insurers or investment administrators of annuities out there who are going to do maybe some form of survey in terms of how quickly a capital in the annuity is exhausted as a result of this 20%. And if the 0.5% minimum withdrawals actually made a difference. But there it is. And everyone that is registered on this platform during the month of May, the minute it is promulgated, with or without amendments, I will send you an email to let you know, and I will also post that documentation on this platform. Thank you so much.